There exists within the sports card hobby a land of untold riches and opportunities, value bins. Everybody loves a good value bin, and if you're willing to do the work and put in the time, you can grow your PC and your wallet by orders of magnitude. Let's go value bin diving. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Market Movers video. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot. Today we're talking about the wonderful world of value bins. I'm going to talk to you about what to look for, how to sort through them most effectively, and how you might find deals within these boxes. So let's get right into it. And right away, I'm going to start us out here at the value bin section at Cards HQ. Now, there are some things I want to talk through here. I'm actually going to get out my notes so I don't miss anything, because there's sort of a list of what to do, rules of how you should approach value bins. The first rule of a value bin is that you should never take a stack like this, pull it out, and then just leave it laying on the counter and walk away from the value bins. Treat the value bins like they're your own cards, even if you don't plan to buy them. You know what? If you see them turned around backwards, turn around while you're looking through them. Don't shake them out of the cases. Don't abuse the cards. Just show some basic respect for these. Also, if you do have them organized like they do here at Cards HQ, we've got football, we've got soccer, we've got baseball. They're all sorted by these sections. Please try to keep them that way. Show some respect for the dealer or for the card shop. Don't take them out. Don't take this stack of football cards out and then shove it into the soccer section. Honestly, it kind of like baffles my mind. There's two things that baffle me in life: going into a public restroom and just wondering what the heck happened in there, and going into a value bin section and wondering what happened there. It's not too hard. Pull the cards out, you put them back. That's a basic rule for how you should treat value bins. Now, another thing is, if you're at a show or at a shop and you're trying to consider maybe grading the cards, obviously it's very easy to gauge centering on a card when you pull it out, to see it through the top loader, the one touch, the penny sleeve, whatever it might be in. Don't just assume that you're allowed to take the cards out and handle them. Ask the dealer, ask the card shop, hey, is it all right if I slide the cards out to look at them, to inspect the surface a little bit more clearly, because I'm thinking about potentially getting this card of my favorite player, Byron Murphy, graded. That's another rule for how to approach things. And then just in general, when there are a lot of people at value bins at a card show or in a shop, just be courteous of them. Don't come and butt your way in. Don't encroach in their space. Respect personal boundaries. Wait until they're done. If you see a card sort of lipped out like this one was here, and you're like, oh man, I really want that card, and the person in front of you is on this row, ask them, if you're really serious about it, hey, is that card right there one that you'd be after? Because I'm interested. Pull it out. Don't just like jump across them and start pulling things out. Just show some basic respect. Now, there are some differences when you go to a card shop compared to a card show. Very often there are differences. The main one is, most dealers at card shows are very willing to negotiate with you on pricing. Some of them will even put out, these cards are 25 cents a piece or 5 for $1. They'll give you some kind of value. They'll state it right on their list. Maybe you can just hand them a stack and you can say, hey, these total up to 25 bucks. Would you be willing to do 20? A lot of them will negotiate. Why? Because they're lugging these big cases of cards into these card shows. They're traveling with them. They're going across the country or across state borders. They don't want to return with all this inventory many times. They got a deal on it because they did some bulk purchase, or they found a big lot on Craigslist or on Facebook or something else, and they just want to move the inventory. When you're at a shop, sometimes it's a little bit different. They're here set up all the time. It's a brick and mortar. We've got a lot of space here. We're actually usually short on inventory. A lot of people like to comment on the videos, ooh, the shelves look a little sparse. I've talked about that before. It's because business is very good. Things are moving, things are turning. So when you come to a shop, many times they sort of price the cards, and they're more willing to let them stay while the right buyer comes in who actually wants those cards at the value that they're looking to get for them. They've got to pay for the brick and mortar. They don't have to pay the gas to lug them around the country. So it's just a little bit of a different motivation and mindset. So that's the biggest thing. At Cards HQ, they're obviously, here all the time. They're running things through different venues like Whatnot, through the value bins, posting the bigger cards online. They've got a lot of ways to sell. Their approach is that they're trying to mark these cards at or near comp value, and then they're fine waiting and sitting on that inventory while they wait for it to sell. So just from a mindset perspective, if you do go to a card shop, don't get frustrated if they're not necessarily willing to do big bulk deals. They just bought all these cards on probably a bulk deal from somebody who walked through and wanted top dollar for them. They have to make their margin to be able to continue to run a business. So just expect to buy them at the face value, unless you know that they're willing to negotiate, and you can always ask them that question. Now, what do I like to look for when I'm looking in the value bins? Well, firstly, PC cards. PC cards is a big thing for me. I have a lot of value priced PC cards in my collection. Teams that you collect, players that you collect. One awesome thing about value bins is you can complete like refractor runs. So I might like to get like an entire refractor run of Randy Johnson from Topps Chrome year over year, or the entire Prism Silver, run from a Detroit Pistons player or somebody. And a lot of times you can find those cards in these bins, the ones that you're missing. So if you track those things in Market Movers or in some other way that you like to track your collection and what you have, that's really good, because then you can pull it out on the fly. You're obviously not going to have the rest of your collection with you, but you can pull it out and go, I do need this 2014 silver, Andre Drummond for my collection. I'm going to set it to the side. I'm going to make sure I get this one. Same thing with rainbow runs. You've been looking for that elusive orange, Prism out of $2.99 or whatever. You finally nail it down and you find it when you're at a show. One thing I really like to do, I like to get gifts for people. So if I have sports fans in my life who I know really like a particular team, the Arizona Cardinals, whoever, it doesn't matter, and I find cards in here and they're not into cards already, I like to get those people cards in the value bins. Why? Because they might not necessarily appreciate if you go out and buy them a 4-figure card or something like that, and that's a lot of money, but it is a way to kind of wet their whistle. And very often I like to put those still into a one-touch, even if it's a $2 or a $5 or a $10 card. It presents nicely. Give them a little stand. They might take it to work or at home and put it up in their little sports shrine at home and say, hey, my friend got me this card, whatever. You can put a little note with a sticky on the back to remind them where it came from. But you find a lot of really cool cards in value bins that stand out, and many times for me, a lot of that has to do with eye appeal more than anything else. I mentioned grading. I know some people who do really well with value bins and knowing which cards grade well. So one thing that we can do is we can actually pull up Market Movers, and you can look at Market Movers to know when a card sells particularly well. So let's take this CJ Stroud base optic card. Maybe you do find this in a value bin. There are $5, $10, even $20 value bins that exist. Let's say you find this card raw, a raw CJ Stroud optic in a top loader, and you pull up Market Movers. Well, you can see over the last 30 days that card's been selling for about $10. Now I can pop open this grade selector and I can see in a PSA 10, that card actually sells for $54. In a 9, it sells for $25. So if it's going to cost you $20, $22, something like that to send it to PSA, you do your math. You can look at the gem rate on those cards. You can see 2,600 PSA 10s, 1,900 PSA 8s. Looks like about a 55-60% gem rate on that card. You do have to be wary of the way that cards that are in value bins may have been treated in the past, or why somebody maybe didn't grade it themselves. But if you pull it out and the centering looks good and you talk to the dealer or the shop owner and say, hey, is it all right if I inspect this? Maybe everything looks good. Pull that one aside, $20. You can send it to PSA and you can, I guess make $20 basically. Make $20, $25, sell it for $55. That's a really good opportunity. What works really well too is when you find like more obscure cards, if there are certain sets that you know really well, sometimes you can find these cards that are like $5 raw, but the gem rate is really low. And if those ones look really spectacular, seriously, some of those cards can sell for upwards of $75 to $100 if they get a PSA 10. So those are really good candidates to look at, as potential opportunities to get in value bins. And then lastly, of course, there's always the hidden gem type cards. Sometimes a dealer just misses something. They just bought this big lot of cards from somebody who walked into their shop or on, like I said, on Facebook Marketplace. They went through all of them, but maybe they don't know every single in and out of every card or what the parallels are. Some things, like there have been years where the retail blues and reds out of Prism were incredibly rare. I think 2017 Prism, for example, Patrick Mahomes blue retail Prism is like pop 9 in a PSA 9 with no 10s, but those cards aren't numbered. So those types of things, sometimes people might not necessarily know how rare they are. Another one that is really sneaky are like short printed image variations from Topps products, especially baseball, sometimes soccer, even football, sometimes from the older sets. You can find those if you know what you're looking for and you know which ones are the image variations, or even generally what typically constitutes an image variation, because there are sort of trends like Gatorade baths and other things like that. If you pull them out and you see that, they might have that card in their dollar bin, in their $5 bin or something like that. That card could be worth, I don't know, $50, $100, maybe $1,000, depending on the card that you're looking at. So those sneaky value is the one other reason why you might look at a value bin. Now, how do you actually approach it? How do I approach it? So they've got chairs here, which is really nice. They don't always have chairs at card shows, so you're hunched over and you got to be mindful of your back. But if the boxes are sorted already, like I see football, I see soccer, I see baseball, I already kind of know what I'm after maybe. The first thing I like to do is just sort of get like a quick flip. I just like to kind of go through and look, okay, this is all ultra modern. Am I seeing anything from the 90s here? No, I'm not. So I'm gonna keep moving on. Maybe if I'm after the 90s or I'm after a particular era. You can also obviously ask the dealer, but that approach firstly is what I like to do. Now, the next thing is, when you have them in here, you can use your hand as a buffer sometimes, but I've seen Ryan, Card Collector 2, do this, where he's kind of got it down to a science, almost like shuffling poker chips, where you can kind of just like pull the cards like this and lift them up, and you're pulling them backward like this, and that helps people go through in case you want to pull them out and see more of the cards. The last way that I approach it, this is most commonly how I do it, is just to get a stack. Get a stack that's big enough for my hands. I'm gonna flip through these. That allows me to really see and inspect every single card, which can be really, really useful and probably the best overall way to approach the value bin. All right, so we looked at the value bins here at Cards HQ, but I've got a special box here to go through because there's another scenario that I haven't talked about yet, and it's the box full of stuff that's not priced and not particularly organized, and how I like to approach that. So as you know, here at Cards HQ, obviously they have all the cards in the shop. We just looked at the value bins, but they also sell a lot of cards on Whatnot. They like to do the Whatnot live streams. We have a lot of people who enjoy buying in that format. So what they'll do is when they buy a big bulk lot of cards, many times they kind of go through and they have an idea of what their audience is going to enjoy on Whatnot, what will sell well, and then they sort of sort those out. And then the cards that are kind of in like the $1 to $3 range is many times what makes it into the value bins here at the shop. So it just depends on your strategy. It's also worth mentioning that a lot of people go to shows or even to card shops looking for value bin cards so they can do their own Whatnot selling. It's a pretty viable way to make some money, especially if you can buy in bulk. That's an opportunity to sell those cards. It's just that it takes a lot of time. The benefit to Whatnot or another streaming platform like that with live selling is that the cards will move. Couple of downsides is that you don't always know what they're going to sell for on those flash auctions, and it does require that you sit down for an hour or 2 hours at a time, go through those live streams, and then you've got to do all the shipping and everything yourself as well. So that's a process they do here, and what they've done is they've given me a box here that I'm going to go through. They picked this up last week at Topps Rip Night, which was here at Cards HQ. There's a bunch of different stuff in here. I did sort it in advance by sport, at least, so we can kind of go through this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of start out and I'll talk through, looking through these cards. I'm gonna work left to right. And so I'm gonna pull out a stack of cards here. Like I said, I really like to pull these out, get a nice stack of them in my hand, and then look at them. And I also like to free up the space in the box as I'm going by having one stack sit out that I always put back exactly where I found it, even if it's a disorganized box. So if I'm starting out here, I'm just gonna kind of talk through these. There's certain things I might look for. Detroit sports teams, players that I like, gold refractors, color match cards, things that would fill in my, my PC. This particular card I'm looking at, I don't really like single color relics. This isn't from any particular game. I don't like sticker autos. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you like. I don't say that to criticize anybody's collecting style or what they go after. It's just not what I'm after in particular. So I could just kind of go through these really quickly. And I have an idea of what I'm looking for already in my mind. Why? Because I've done this many times. It also does help if you know what different products are. If you understand the nuances and you know what the parallels are. You don't have to. You can know specific things and just kind of go through. What I don't recommend doing, unless you just have all the time in the world and you enjoy it, is going through each individual card, pulling it out, going, oh, that's kind of cool. And then there's a question that still exists about like whether or not you price the cards out yourself or not. In a case like this, I would definitely price cards that I'm pulling out to go to the dealer with and have an idea in my mind of what they're worth. I don't want to go to him and say, what do you want for these? And he says, $55, and I have no idea what they're worth. Either I'm going to say deal or I'm going to sit there and look them up myself. When cards are marked as like a $5 box or a $1 box, you can look them up yourself, but also if you trust the dealer, that definitely helps because then you don't have to look them all up. You can just kind of go through and shop freely, just like if you were shopping for, salad dressing at the grocery store. You just know this is the price, this is the going rate. I'm not going to get extorted here. But let me keep going through this. So right away, I see a couple of Victor Wembanyama base cards here. These are the type of cards that I might take and I might say, okay, hey, Mr. Dealer, is it all right if I inspect these cards for grading? I'm going to look at this card and I see that this card, oh, the centering is so crazy on these because it's like a Irish knot around the edges. There's a lot to look at. But I'm going to look at the spacing on both sides of these. It does look off-center a little bit right to left to me. But I could pull this card out and inspect the surface if I was considering grading this card. So in this particular instance, this is Victor Wembanyama's Select Concourse level. It's a base card. So I can actually pull up market movers. So what I would type in here is I can just type in Victor Select Concourse, and then I'll type in raw, and that'll help me now. This is obviously the blue retail, so I'm going to scroll down until I find that base concourse. Let's keep scrolling, and that's the scope. Okay, so here's the raw card. I can pull this up. I can pop this open. Again, like I said, I see a PSA 10 is going for $45. A PSA 9 is going for $15.50. So if I get the card graded, if it doesn't gem, I'm going to lose some money. But let's say this card in this box was $3 raw, or even maybe $2 raw. That's probably worth actually considering getting graded. And I think Wemby stuff has a chance to go up. If we go back, you can see these cards a few months ago. Raw were doing significantly more. Obviously, if I look at the PSA 9, you can see that these cards spiked up into the 30s. I do think Wemby stuff will go up a little bit in the coming months. That's just my gut, my speculation. But this is the type of thing I might pull my phone out for, pull out market movers to look at to see, do I want to get these cards graded? I'm going to grab a couple of these, inspect the condition, and keep on moving. So let's keep looking at this stack. A couple of Wembys. Nice 90s. Nice to see some 90s represented in the box. Nothing too crazy there. Haley Van Lith. Probably not targeting her stuff too much. I'm really curious to see how Bowman U stuff is going to do in basketball and football over time, and if it'll pick up like baseball has. Scrolling through Origins, I do like Jalen Brunson a lot. Pink Ice. That's the type of thing where maybe you're trying to, if you're a team builder, you like to build on a certain parallel that's a color match. You might find these types of cards, and you can start your little team lineup color match of the Villanova guys, for example, something like that. Here's a nice Paolo Banchero to 99. Nothing too crazy. So like I said, I'm going to take this first stack, I'm going to set it here just to give myself some more room to pull out stuff. So I can go like this. Here's Jaden Ivey, one of my Pistons guys, numbered to 99. That's one that I might, pull out and stick to the side so I can put it there. I'm going to take this stack, I'm going to put it back in the box, and I'm going to put it at the front for now. Like I said, ultimately you'll see I'll put this back in the front, I'll move everything backwards. Just creates more room for me to pull out. Here's a nice Giannis Snow Globes. I believe that's like the Asia Red parallel. Carmelo, Duncan and Manu. Shout out Big J Basketball for that one. Now we're switching into baseball. So I went from basketball, now all of a sudden I'm in baseball. So I'm going to take these just for my own sanity and put them back in here like that. Let's see, you got a Jordan and Bregman. That one would be a good gift card if I were going to buy a card for Nicholas from my marketing team here at SCI. He's a big Astros fan, so that's the type of card I might take and stick to the side and say, yep, that's a good gift option. By the way, I mentioned this last week, but here's some Leaf cards. They are nice looking cards. It's just not something that I've ever gravitated toward or been drawn to. I already like enough sports cards. I like enough different things that I don't need to add unlicensed product like Leaf and Wildcard, even though their designs tend to be really good and they do get a lot of autographs and game-used memorabilia pieces. Here's one from Leaf, Leonardo Bernal. I'm not familiar with him, but this card probably is at least player-worn memorabilia of this guy. Here's a Nico Horner Gold. I do like Finest this year. I think that's an interesting set, so if I see one in here, thought that was freed for a second. DeGrom's back, helping my fantasy team at the end. Josh Young just started his own YouTube channel, and he had Mike Trout on. So go look for Josh Young's YouTube channel. They're ripping packs. They're ripping a couple of boxes, and he's talking to Mike Trout. It's like a 30-minute video. I'm really excited to see him develop. Actually, a couple of guys who I know from Michigan pulled one of his big cards and got to meet him and got to like do a trade or sell him the card or something. That was pretty cool. Josh Young seems like a really fun guy. All right. Jet Williams, one of the most aptly named players in baseball. If I'm not mistaken, he is a base stealing fiend, and that's a really nice chunky patch. Obviously at a flawless here, so that's nice. So I'm going to take this stack, put it back in, and I'm going to go with a little more speed now. That one's cool. Finest X-Fractor, Acuna, with the follow-through. Not numbered. I'm going to stick that one to the side. Ellie Rookie. That's one that you might like consider getting graded. If I pulled that open, here's another one. Let's look that one up. Let's see what that one's selling for on Market Movers. All right, so I forgot, they did not call these X-Fractors this year. For some reason, they changed the name to checkerboard refractor. So you can see, these are selling for $5, $6, $10 in some cases. If I pop this open, PSA 10, $116. Yes, please. This is the kind of card that I would pull out. I'd look at the condition of it. A lot of times these X-Fractors, checkerboards, whatever you want to call them, can actually grade sneaky well if you do inspect the surface, because sometimes the design actually can kind of veil print lines and other surface defects on the front of the card. So I would take that one out and look to see if I want to get it graded. I wouldn't grade the Acuna because it's not a rookie card. Same thing with this Michael Harris. That's a cool card, but I wouldn't get it graded because it's not a rookie card, so it's not going to make much sense to get it graded. All right, sometimes you get this too, where you have this dynamic with all kinds of different sizes of things in these value boxes. Jinming Wang, there's a name I haven't seen or heard in a long time. Pretty fun autograph there, number to 25 out of Flawless. Ricky Tiedemanns, there's a Jackson Holiday. This is not his first. If you saw last week's video about sports card basics, I'm not sure I made this point. This is not a first. This is a Bowman card, but it is actually, it's not his rookie card either. It's like an in-between. I call them tweener cards. You don't see the RC logo on it. You don't see the first logo. These typically do not go for as much as Bowman firsts or rookie cards. James Wood, same thing here. And this is actually, I believe, the yellow sapphire numbered to 75. I actually really like the design of that card, and I think James Wood has an opportunity to be a pretty good player in the league. Stick that one to the side. And then that's pretty much that stack, and we got a little bit here. Shohei carrying my fantasy team big time. Loving what he's doing this year. Tony Gwynn. We got a Kershaw who unfortunately came back but didn't do particularly well and is not pitching again. So now that I'm done with this row, I'm going to take this original stack and I'm going to put it right back into the front where I started. So I do the same thing here, kind of come over, and now this is all soccer. So I'm going to go pretty fast through this. Why? Because from a perspective of soccer, I don't actually collect a ton of soccer. There are certain players that I like, and I'm also after Lamine Yamal cards. I think he's got a ton of potential. I actually think he's got a huge amount of potential, and so do most people who are soccer fans. So he's somebody that I might look to buy some cards in and hold for a little while, or maybe look to get graded. Holland's another guy who's fantastic, and here's a Lamine Yamal. So like I might end up taking this stack of Lamine Yamal cards and sticking them to the side. Messi, obviously, you can't go wrong, but this is just a base optic card. One thing people don't know, in Panini basketball and football, they have Donruss as a standalone product, Donruss paper, and then they have Donruss Optic, which is more of like the chromium stock card. It's a separate box that you rip. In soccer, it's in the same product. It's just called Donruss, and then the optics are actually like inserted more rarely into the packs. So they actually have all those parallels too. So something that you have to know. You do a little product research in advance. Tie-dyes are always nice to have. Those are numbered to 30 in soccer, unlike football and basketball where they're 25. Not sure why they do that. So stick that to the side. Oh, that's pretty cool. Jude Bellingham. I love that effect. It's numbered, what, to 99 maybe? I don't see the number. This has to be numbered. That's a non-numbered card. That's pretty cool. Interesting. Here's a Lamine Yamal. Somebody had it in a one-touch. You can see this is a base select card. A base select. Not sure what's going on with this. EA Sports. Yep. Weird. Did these come out of La Liga, I guess? That's really interesting. I don't know. I don't know about that. I have to look up the product. Benzema. I do tend to actually go after some French footballers, but this is the one there's nothing, it's not licensed, there's nothing depicting him on there. Here's a Lamine Yamal, Messi, Lua. I like to collect hollows and refractors of Lua and certain other players who have been really good from this era or over time. Maybe we'll find some Zlatan, Ibrahimovic cards, some Drogbas, who knows. There's not a lot of Drogba cards though, if I'm being honest. Those are more hard to come by. Here's a Lamine Yamal, Mo Salah. Here's a Yamal. That's pretty cool. There's a nice Lua. Okay. So if you're not familiar with soccer, but you like to speculate, just look into Lamine Yamal, I would say. Not that I'm, like I said, not that I'm trying to pump him. There's a lot of buzz around him. Check his name on Google Trends to see how popular he is, because a lot of people are calling him the next Messi, and they use those comparisons sometimes pretty generously, or pretty liberally, I should say. But in this case, he's pretty special, young. I believe he just turned 16, 17. He was in Euro Cup, big part of their national team, plays for Barcelona, which is obviously one of the biggest teams with fandom in the world, especially in La Liga. So he's a guy that I might look to buy. So what I do, I'm going to pull these cards out. And since this box isn't sorted, I'm not as worried about it either, about like getting things out of order, because they're just sorted by sport. So I'm kind of keeping those in order. That's a pretty cool card of Holland. Too bad I like Chelsea and not Manchester City, but I still do like Holland. Here's an Mbappe. I really like him too. Van Dijk, one of the great defensemen. When I see cards like this, with this kind of bizarre parallel border that I've never seen before, I don't know anything about it. I don't even think it says on the back like what it is. I tend to stay away from those cards, honestly, because they just seem kind of gimmicky to me. My theory on this is, even for players who are notable, nobody's going to remember these parallels, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't pass the eye appeal test for me more than anything. I think it's frankly an ugly card. So if you like it, go for it. If it's for your PC, go for it. If you like to rainbow chase and build the whole set, sometimes you have to buy these out of obligation. I've done that with Drummond, but yeah, I do like KDB, so I might stick that one to the side, even though, like I said, it's a Man City card. That's okay. These ones, little insert, I don't really like that. And looks like I've got some football cards here, actually. Here's a really nice color match, Isaiah Pacheco. This is like a red flood out of Obsidian. I'll stick that one to the side. And then looks like we've got some football in the back here. Will Levis. Where are all the people who were defending Will Levis on my football video 6 weeks ago? Well, we'll see if they show up in the comments the next football video that I do, because I have a hunch they'll be pretty quiet. Let's see. Here's some wild card. You can see the designs on these. These are collegiate cards. They do look really nice. They do pop really nicely. They kind of shimmer. It's just not something that I've been terribly interested in. Van Dijk, Aiden O'Connell. Some people were commenting on him too, saying, oh, he's going to win the starting job and he's going to be fantastic. And now it's Gardner Minshew. As far as I can tell, I don't think O'Connell's injured. I think he just didn't get the starting job. All right, we got one more row to go through here, and this is packed pretty tightly. That's the reason why I like to keep them out. So I'm going to take this stack that I had before and put that back into the front, and then we'll go through these really fast. There's a Zlatan. There's a Zlatan. That's pretty nice. Might stick that one to the side. Donnarumma. Here's a nice Lua. I actually really like that one. See, I kind of go after the color match cards, so I'm going to stick that one to the side. I'm a sucker for base refractors and silvers, and I'm a sucker for color match cards in particular. Those are the two things that kind of stop me in tracks, and golds. And golds. You can't go wrong with a gold. We'll see if we get any golds in here. Oh, right on cue. That was not planned, by the way. Here's some golds, but I'm not after those guys. Joao Felix, he's pretty good. Actually, that's a nice color match too, but I'm going to pass on that one. Here's some more Yamals.
I'm here.
White Sparkle. Nice. I don't know this guy, honestly. Rafa Marin. I don't know him. Rookie card. Tielemans Kimmich. Oh, nice. Pedri. Number to 50. That's one that I'd definitely be interested. Oh, there's two of them. That's okay. These are two that I would definitely be interested in. Sequentially numbered, 46 and 47 and 50. What are the odds of that? Diogo Jota. And these are the kind of ones, I already got one of these, I believe. These are the kind of ones that are actually like sneaky, those gold ones. Like in terms of like, they're really cool looking. It's not a rookie card or anything, so you can probably get a decent value on it, $5, $10, somewhere in that price range. I forgot to grab this stack. Jude. That's a nice looking card. Youthquake. But I like to have focus, so I like to go for like the base cards. There are inserts that I go after, like base refractors, though you got to draw some boundaries somewhere on your own collection and what you're after. That's a nice color match on the Mukoko. So I do like Borussia Dortmund. Okay. Got a couple stacks left and then we're good. Zlatan. That's really cool, actually. I really like Inception. That's a nice card. Jude. Nice looking refractor. Gavi. So I root for Chelsea, Barcelona, Dortmund, United States, obviously in the international, but also France and Croatia. I like both of those countries. Funny enough, I am not French nor Croatian, though I do speak French. All right, a couple more stacks. I'm just going to grab them both. This white sparkles look so nice. It's not any players that I'm looking for. Ronaldo, Golazzo. Oscar Bob. What a name. Oscar Bob. There's a Yamal, but there's a nice run. Base. Holland. That's pretty cool. That's nice. Nice Zidane. All right. So like, how would I approach this now? I'm gonna put this actually back before I forget into the front of this row. How would I approach these? So a lot of these Yamals were like the same card. So I'd probably sort those out. Kind of take these and put the Yamals in here. That's just the Donruss base cards, so they're gonna be similarly priced. Put this here. These are the optics. You can see the difference. Optic versus Donruss on the top right. So that's the difference between those cards. So Donruss, Optic, Optic. This is different, Optic. Couple selects. And then put that there, that there. That's the paper. Donruss. And I'm just going to put this Rookie Kings back. I typically, I like those cards. The Rookie Kings look really nice, but they don't always do too great when you're selling them. Same thing with this Wonder Kids. These are just a little more liquid and straightforward. So what I would do is I might look these cards up like I showed you on Market Movers. I look up the base value to kind of have an idea of what they're worth. That makes totaling these up really simple. So I would stack these up, total them up, and if I write a show with a dealer, you have one of two options in what you can do. You can take the stack to the dealer and you can say, hey, I'm interested in these. How much would you want on this stack? And you make them give you a number first. Sometimes that can work to your advantage. Why? Because maybe they're gonna say $100, okay? And maybe that's actually already a good deal, at which point maybe you just go, sure, deal. Or maybe you say, would you take 85? And you start the negotiation. Maybe they say $100 and it's actually, the stack you've comped it is only worth 50. And so you're like, oh, I comped them out. Now you feel like you have a little bit of egg on your face. You just spent all this time and energy and back straining and everything else going through a box, and you found a dealer who didn't have their cards priced, who isn't reasonable on pricing or doesn't know what they're talking about, or tells you, I don't believe in comps, or any number of different things, then that can get a little dicey. In this case, what I like to do is I like to add it all up, know what it's worth, and then knock like 25% off the price. If I know the total is worth $100, I would say, hey, would you take $75 on this? I'm not trying to price gouge them, too terribly much. Maybe they're going to come back and want a little bit different, but depending on my goals with them, that's how I would approach it. The rest of these, when you're going through sales history, let's actually take this Pedri just as an example. I'll show you how I look this up really easily on Market Movers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in Pedri Gold Sapphire because I know that's what it's from. And then right away it kicks me over and I can see right away, that's it. I didn't have to type in the whole description of the card. 49 of 50. Too bad I can't find that one in the 50 of 50 and have a run of them. $6.50. So I have a couple of those. I can scroll down, I can see that's really the last comp of that card. I have two of them here. Maybe they take $5 a piece for the cards. I'm really happy to have those. Look at the condition, potentially get them graded, because that actually is the type of card that if you were to get it graded, get a PSA 10, you're looking at least $50, at least $50 on that card. So Carlson Cards gets a lot of cards like that on his YouTube channel. He finds these ones that are in like the $5 to $10 price range, raw, and that don't get a lot graded or a lot gemming, and then he sends them in and gets them graded, and those do really well for him. So that's kind of how I would approach it. Just quickly type them out. You can write it down on a piece of paper, type it out on your phone. You could screenshot everything, that way you have it available, whatever you want to do with the dealer. But I'd go through these and look through them again, make sure I don't have any duplicates unless I want them, like in the case of these two Pedri cards. Stack them all up, take them to the dealer and just say, hey, how about you take, $75 for these cards, and that's good to go. So generally I do steer clear of these types of boxes at shows unless I see stuff when I do the quick flip through them that's really caught my eye. And I think there might be some sneaky value or something else. I like to talk to the dealers sometimes too and just say like, hey, how are you comping out the value on these boxes? Maybe there is something and they just don't have it labeled. Maybe they just go, you can make me an offer. I'm really open to negotiation. Feel it out, build that relationship out with them, and then kind of go from there. But I think I found some good ones here, so I'm gonna have to talk to Ryan about this stack in particular. Let me know if this value bin episode was helpful. What are your pro tips for searching value bins? And especially let me know, what's the best card you have ever found in a value bin? How much did you pay for it? And what did you end up selling it for? Or just what was it worth if you kept it in your PC? Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. It makes me look good with my boss, Jeff. Until next time, happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.